If you think like a worker, you can't see the big picture or work toward a bigger goal. That's just the way it is. You'll struggle to regain your footing if your brain isn't used to thinking like people who achieve great things. And even those who start a big job without a clear plan end up thinking this way as they go along. So, since you already know you need to think like a CEO, why not quicken the process by beginning to train your brain? That is the topic of this video. Before we go any further, let's clarify what it means to think like a CEO. While everyone is unique, we all share certain characteristics. And all of these characteristics, when combined, account for how a CEO's mind functions. The first thing to consider is your growth mentality. You've probably heard this term thrown about a lot. You should know by now that having a growth mindset means believing that all there is to learn can be learned. There's no entry barriers to skill acquisition. But let's go a little deeper. A growth mindset is about more than just talents. It's about knowing what's possible and believing that there's a way to get anything you need somewhere out there. When you adopt this mindset, your perception begins to shift. For example, you may understand that you do not need to be a chef in order to run a profitable restaurant. Great marketing does not require millions of dollars. Starting a business does not necessitate an MBA. Instead, it's a question of cause and effect, along with progressively chipping away at the wall until something spectacular emerges. According to Michelangelo, every block of stone contains a statue, and it is the sculptor's responsibility to discover it. And this quote says exactly what it means to have a growth attitude. If you know and honestly think that something wonderful is out there, it will only be a matter of time until you discover a method to obtain it. A growth mentality can set you apart from those who believe that this is all there is to it. So, how does this growth attitude manifest itself in real life? So, if you can tell something to one person, that means you can tell something to 1 million people. If you can lose 1 pound, it indicates you can get the body you want. If you can make one person laugh, that indicates you can learn how to make a crowd laugh. As you can see, everything begins with that first baby step. And once you've taken it, you discover there's a lot more to the world than meets the eye. The next characteristic you'll notice in these CEOs is that they are always proactive. This indicates you don't wait for something to happen before reacting to it. You cause something to happen, thus everything else must respond to you. Those who are reactive mostly lose. Let's start with a simple example, losing weight. If you suddenly discover you have an event coming up in 3 months, whether it's a wedding or a high school reunion, you know you need to do something to appear better. You are, after all, reacting. It will be more difficult for you to begin exercising. Even if you do, you're more likely to gain weight after the event since you are not in control of it. This was not in your plans. You were merely reacting to an outside dude that forced you to do it. Your motivations were not right ones. So you're hurrying, panicked, seeking for shortcuts, and you're basically terrible at it. On the other hand, when you're proactive, staying healthy is just a way of life, and outside occurrences can't make you panic. Let's imagine you have a job and you're tragically let go. Hey, it occurs all the time nowadays. So if you're used to reacting, you'll probably take the first job you come across, whether you like it or not, just to keep the lights on. If you're being proactive, it indicates you've developed a skill set that is so important that firing you would be a huge loss for the organization. And 2 other companies will compete for you, and you can apply this to any situation you choose. Being proactive entails doing things that you know will come in handy later. It puts you in a position where you're always one step ahead of the competition. Finally, we have resiliency. The best definition of resilience is your ability to move your ass when you don't want to. When you're driven, pumped, and have a true enthusiasm for what you're doing, it's easier to get things done. That explains why some people can play video games for 14 hours straight. It's an interesting and enjoyable activity, but that's not how it works in real life. Not every day will be interesting and enjoyable. In fact, most days will not be like that. It's up to you to discover your why and create resilience around it. When we discuss resilience, one anecdote usually comes to mind: the Lord of the Rings trilogy's production. In interviews, crew workers admitted to taking naps under their tables in order to finish the task on time. Obviously, this is not an ideal situation, but the point is that when you have a strong reason to accomplish something and you know it, fantastic things will happen as a result of your efforts. Then, as your resilience grows, you'll discover new energy levels you didn't know you had. These are the 3 most typical characteristics found in top CEOs. There are obviously many more, but for the time being, let's concentrate on these three. Knowing this won't help you much if you don't start applying it to your life. This is when your brain begins to be trained. So the first thing you should do is choose a project in your life. Maybe it's something you've always meant to accomplish but never got around to doing. Perhaps it's something you're already doing, but you're doing it half-heartedly and are aware of it. Perhaps it's something you know you should be doing, but don't know where to start. We recommend that you write it down on a piece of paper. Then go back over what you wrote and place 10 X's directly next to it. For example, if your aim is to get in shape, 10X could mean competing in a triathlon. If your 10X sounds ludicrous, you're doing it correctly. You're doing this to induce a growth mentality and begin developing. We have a tendency to overestimate the big picture and underestimate the small one. For example, if you write, "I will do 10 push-ups every day," it may mean a lot to you. Yet, if you add, "I will compete in a triathlon this year," those 10 push-ups will seem insignificant. When you start with a large number in front of you, the small ones are the ones you need to hit before you get there. They won't seem so out of reach. As you become more accustomed to doing this in other facets of your life, you will notice how your perspective gradually shifts from "this cannot be done" to "how can this be done?" But you must either do it or go through the procedure. Simply thinking about it will not provide any results. Now, on the same piece of paper, write down 3 things you know are good for you or will be good for you in the future, but you're not doing any of them right now. This could be something more difficult, such as saving up for 6-month emergency fund, or something as simple as drinking X amount of water every day. Make a list of these 3 things and start doing them. Write down 3 more and repeat the process until this becomes your new normal. When it comes to resilience, this will be the most difficult issue you will encounter. Everyone has different ways of dealing with things they don't want to do. Some people meditate, some listen to motivational music, and some just do it white-knuckled. Find something that works for you. That concludes this video. Put everything you've learned today into practice, and we guarantee you will notice significant changes in yourself in less than 3 months. And of course, there's a bonus. The final step of thinking like a CEO is to focus on the results rather than the effort put in. Keep track of figures, optimize processes, and eliminate time-wasting activities. Nobody cares how much time and effort you put in. Nobody cares whether you worked 2 or 20 hours. Only the outcome is important. That's why you must know how to be as productive as possible. You're lucky we got another video about that exact topic for you.